It is.
You found it?
Yes.
Great, because my keyword came up with 85 hits, so great. All right. Thank you. So you were acting under that policy at that time?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I just want to give you, can you explain how the September incidents fell under, didn't require a trained investigator, but the October 23rd did?
Yes, because there wasn't. It wasn't actual a sexual assault.
Okay,
It was just harassment.
I understand. So that's a separate policy.
Yes.
I understand. Okay, so, but there still was an investigation, right?
Yes.
Okay. And
By
there's-
jail staff.
by jail staff. That investigation was still documented, right?
Yes.
Okay. And was that Cody? What was it put into?
Yes.
Okay, it was put into Cody. And then there was action taken based on that investigation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you directed all of that? And did you consult anybody at any time with regard to that?
No.
Okay.
I reviewed what staff did and the sergeants, and I spoke with the inmates as well. And then it was determined that it was unfounded.
Okay, and I just want to be clear, when you say it was determined, who are the people making this determination?
Myself and the sergeants.
Okay, got it. So, and as far as you know, based on the policy, because it was just an allegation of harassment, you had the ability to make that determination.
Yes.
Okay, but if it was an allegation of a sexual assault, that you would not have the ability to investigate that
Correct.
based on the policy.
Yes.
Okay, and then, so the preference at that point would not have been to, even though you needed an investigator, was there a reason why you didn't start with the Ashland County Sheriff's Department?
Because they don't like to do any investigations for the jail.
Okay,
They want the jail to do their own investigations.
and, okay. But even if there's an assault, I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but then we also heard, I think from Mr. Brennan, that there's also an interest in avoiding a conflict of, appearance of a conflict of interest. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes, when it's something, I mean, like if for sexual assault, I definitely don't want there to appear, which we had a staff complain about, or an inmate complain about a staff member. We don't want our own investigators doing an investigation on that, because what happens if somebody down the road says, well, you guys were biased,
Okay, but that's what happened, right?
well, for,
Sorry, and I'll clarify,
Oh.
but the Sheriff's Department ultimately did investigate, right?
yes, they did.
Okay,
And that was fine, because according to our policy, they could.
okay,
We just don't like to do it that way. We have always had it done outside of the county.
okay. But it's fair to say that because the Sheriff's Department investigated, you weren't able to take advantage of a potential appearance of a conflict of interest that would not be
Correct.
involved if it was an outside agency.
Correct.
Okay. So is that fair to say why you took such time in first calling all these other agencies and then leveraging the connection with the Bayfield, the police department?
Yes.
Okay. And if Mr. Wilbur, if Sergeant Wilbur didn't have a personal connection, what would you have done?
I would have called him myself.
Okay,
But I know that he every day when I talk to him, he's a big workout guy.
okay,
And he tells me about who he works out with. One of the sergeants, another sergeant he worked out with, and also the lieutenant from Ashland Police Department. They work out almost every day.
I got it.
So,
Okay. So that made natural sense.
Yeah.
In your mind at that time. I got
right.
it. Okay. Now, did you have any interactions with Mr. Grady, let's say between September and your termination?
Yes.
Okay, what was the nature of those interactions?
Well, once he called me names, he called me a tyrant.
Well, let's just back up a second. When did he call you names?
We had a meeting, the secretary, Melissa Moravitz, myself, and Sue Mission, who works for the county clerk's office, and the county treasurer, Tracy Hoagland. We had a meeting at the courthouse regarding budget issues.
Okay, these are jail budget issues or something else?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of what happened to the previous jail administrator, the jail is under a microscope. That's why we had to change all of our programs.
I got it. Okay.
So we were having this meeting, and Dan Grady then said, "You're just a tyrant. You need to take a vacation."
Okay, and what was the context for that?
Because I was asking questions about money.
Oh, okay.
That my opinion is that, because that's what we were there doing.
I got it.
And I wasn't afraid to ask stuff.
Okay. And this was the first negative interaction you had with Mr. Grady?
No, I was standing with the sheriff after a board meeting, and he told the sheriff that he did not want me. He goes, his actual words were, "You need to call off the dog."
Okay, and he was referring to you as the dog.
Yes. And Mick said, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, you don't need to have her coming to all these board meetings." And he said, Mick told Grady, "I have given her permission to go to every board meeting she wants to." So then Grady then said to me, "I don't want you coming to these meetings."
He said that in front of Mr. Brennan or something else?
No, Mick had left. I was standing there with his secretary, then he called me in his office.
I want to be clear, when you say he, you mean Mr. Grady called you in his office after Mr. Brennan left?
Yes,
Okay, did you go into his office?
yes.
Okay.
And then again,
And let's just be
I'm
clear,
sorry.
how did he call you in there? Did he shout? Did he?
no, he was, the office is only like 10 feet away, and he was talking, so I went in, I walked in.
Okay. And then what did he say to you in his office?
He told me he didn't want me going to the board meetings.
Okay, and when did
Sorry,
this
say that
happen?
again?
He didn't want me going to the board meetings.
Okay.
When did that happen?
That happened early last year.
2022.
Yes.
Okay.
So like January, February, March, any idea what month?
I would say probably around February.
Okay. And I will fill more of that in a second, but just for comparison's sake, you've seen this email that talks about Mr. Kadat attending the meetings now.
Yes.
Objection to that question. And the misclassification of evidence in the record. That email specifically talks about Mr. Kadat going to PPLE meetings. Ms. Lavasseur is discussing right now the general county board meetings.
No, sir. I actually was given an email by Brian Zubke saying I was not allowed to attend any board meetings nor speak on behalf of the sheriff's office. That's also in our evidence.
All right, well, what the document is that? Let's look at that then.
Is there an email that you're referencing?
Just 1 second, please.
Email between Lavasseur and Pt12.
Okay, this one here.
I think it's,
No, hold on.
I think it's the 230116 from January 16 of 23.
Bam, thank you, sir. Do you see this document?
Yes,
Okay, was this document sent to you?
yes,
Okay, and this is on January 16th, is that right?
correct,
Okay, and that's 3 days before you were terminated?
yes,
Okay. And this document says, Kim, no one can attend on duty nor speak on behalf of the sheriff's office. I will handle all that. If they attend off duty, it is their right. I don't mind you having Zoom if it's not interfering with your daily duties. The board members had problem in the past with asking for money for a new employee, but staff was sitting at the meetings. Any concerns or budget can be voiced through me. Did I read that right?
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
And
Which
is
email
that
is
what you
this?
sent?
Okay, hold on. So that's gonna be exhibit 20, and that is the file name is 230116, email between Lavasseur and Zup.
Okay, and that's the, that is Mr. Zupke ordering you to do what Mr. Grady had requested the previous sheriff to do, right?
Correct. I actually was told that by Brian in his office. And, then I wanted it in writing.
Okay,
So I went back to my office and I sent him an email. If you scroll down, you see that. And it says, I didn't remember if he said or not, if other staff could attend meetings.
okay. So this is you getting him to confirm that you're not allowed to attend these meetings.
Correct.
Okay,
And it was any board meetings, not just the law enforcement board meetings.
right, the subject says board meetings there. Is that where you get that from?
Correct.
Okay, it also says, nor speak on, he also says, I will handle all that. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, here, this is a mere 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oh, that's a week later.
Mhm.
Okay. And as far as you knew at this time, you were still employed by the sheriff's department, right?
I did.
Okay. Now this is an email that you've seen from Mr. Grady to Kyle Cadat and Brian Zubke. And it says, it's asking Mr. Cadat to attend the PPLE meetings on January 1st and to introduce yourself to the committee. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that is directly from Mr. Grady to Mr. Cadat, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exhibit
that-
18, just for clarification.
Thank you. All right, and again, do you know what sex or gender Mr. Zupke is?
Zupke is male.
And I mean Mr. Cadat.
He is also male.
Okay, and do you know how old Mr. Cadat is?
I would say 35-ish.
Okay. How about his race? Do you know what race he identifies as?
Native American.
Okay. And that's the same as Mr. Zupke, is the same race that he identifies as?
He is Native American and I believe Mexican,
Okay.
but I'm not sure.
And do you know if there's any marital connection between Mr. Cadat and Mr. Zupke?
There is.
Okay,
Mr. Cadat is Mr. Zupke's wife's cousin.
I got it.
There was also one other time about the board meetings. Directly after a board meeting, this was in approximately July of last year, that after the meeting, I was standing in the hallway, waiting to speak with the highway commissioner.
Okay,
He was talking with a county board member, Blake Elson. And Mr. Grady came out of the boardroom and said to me in front of the two guys, and they stopped talking and were listening. He said, some of the members say it's inappropriate for you to be coming to these meetings.
Okay.
And so I looked at Mr. Elson, since he's a board member, and I said, do you think it's inappropriate for me to be at these meetings?
Okay,
And he said, no, absolutely not.
okay,
And so I looked at Mr. Grady and I just kind of shook my head and then I walked away.
okay. And this was after he referred to you as,
A tyrant.
sure, but it's also after he referred to you as Mick. What's his last name again?
Miss Brennan?
Brennan's dog, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did him referring to you as a dog affect your relationship with Mr. Grady?
I don't hold grudges, so to me, I mean, it's no, I didn't, because I worked in the jail for 22 years, I've been called lots of names before. I don't appreciate someone I work with.
I can just imagine some
Calling
of
me a
the
name in front of someone. I prefer if they want to call me a name, call it to my face without anybody around.
I got it. Okay. So tyrant and dog, was there any other pejorative comments that Mr. Grady made about you?
Not that I'm aware of,
Okay, at least not to your face, right?
correct.
Okay, got it. How about, was there any other pressure that he put on you not to attend these meetings?
No,
Okay. And the tyrant, that comment happened in early 2022?
yes.
And when did the dog comment happen?
No, actually, the tyrant comment, I believe it was early 22. We were talking about the budget. And trying to get my dates straight. The dog thing happened. I honestly, I couldn't say. I don't
Okay.
know.
And you weren't going to these meetings for your personal benefit, right?
No.
Why were
As a
you?
matter of fact, I never asked for anything for myself except one time at the very end of the year.
Fair enough, but let's focus on what you did ask for.
Okay.
Okay, what did you ask? What were you at? What was the purpose of going to these meetings?
Because the jail needed a lot of stuff, and including staff members, including equipment, and we had never gotten anything. In my 22 years, we'd never gotten anything. I shouldn't say that. We did get stuff, but very, very rarely.
Okay, and so you were, and is that what Mr. Grady was acting unfavorably towards, if you know?
Yes,
Okay,
What he was what? What did you say?
acting unfavorably towards, calling her a dog and a tyrant and stuff like that. That's, you can phrase that however you want. Okay. So, we've also had some testimony that you were on salary at the time of your termination, right?
yes,
Okay, and then, but now Mr. Kadat is on hourly, is that right?
yes, there's an email.
Okay, and does that mean he's gonna get paid more?
Yes,
Why do you believe that?
because every minute he works, he's going to get paid. And I worked probably 60 some hours a week and only got paid for 40.
Okay. I got it. Now,
But he's also getting paid longevity pay, which when Governor Walker took over in Act 10, all of that was taken away from us from the county. So how he's getting longevity, I don't understand, especially since he's only worked there for less than 2 years.
I got it. Okay, so he's, not only is he getting paid on a different rate, he's also getting benefits to which you did not get.
Yes.
I got it.
And if I can also mention, I'm
Please.
sorry, the wage study
Like, can we just back into
Oh,
that?
sorry,
So was there a wage study that occurred that you know of?
yes.
Well, how did that take place?
Well, it was done for the entire county's benefit. So.
So that wasn't jail specific.
No,
I got it. Okay. But the jail was also reviewed.
yes,
Okay. And, but you had been asking independent of this study, for a review of the wages at the, jail?
yes,
Okay. And so it's coincided with the fact that you were asking for this and then they did a wage study. Is that right?
yes.
Okay. And what,
Matter of fact, I was able to get, almost $2.50 an hour raise for the staff
okay, can you,
while I was working there.
so explain how that happened, please?
I kept going to board meetings and, as a matter of fact, one of the board members said, oh, the squeaky wheel. And I said, yep, that's gonna be me.
Okay, so based on you being the squeaky wheel, you got $2 premium for your correctional officers, right?
Almost 250.
250. Okay.
And, COVID, I was able to get them $1,500 bonus for COVID, which regular staff only got, I believe, 500, which was myself. I only got $500. Where all the jail staff got 1,500.
I got it. Okay. And that's what's because of your efforts, right?
Yes.
I got it. Is there any other changes to the county policy or payment or staffing that occurred because of your discussions with the board?
Well, I kept talking to him about getting more staff, but that didn't happen.
Okay. Do you know if they've made any changes since you've left?
Yes,
How do you know that?
from staff who are working with it.
Okay. And what are the changes that they made?
They're required to have 3 people on duty at all times.
Okay. And that wasn't the case when you were there, right?
No,
Okay, what if you wanted to have 3 people on duty at all times? What would happen?
if there wasn't somebody to fill the shift, you just didn't get 3 people on duty.
Okay. And so we've heard from Mr. Sergeant Wilbur that after you were terminated, staff started volunteering for those shifts when they had not before. Is that
Correct.
okay? So that was part of the reason when you say people weren't available, they might be available, but they weren't volunteering. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't have a mechanism to force them.
No. And as a matter of fact, I actually asked one of the staff members, current staff members, if he would just, I didn't ask him to come here. I just asked him to write something saying how many write-ups that I've given him and saying that I forced him to work night shifts. It was a sergeant so that we can start getting all of our staff working, following policies better.
Mhm.
He refused to do so for fear of repercussions.
Okay. So that's a witness who declined to be a witness for you today because he said that he was
Yes.
afraid of retaliation.
Yes.
All right. So, when was the last time you had a conversation with Mr. Grady?
An actual face-to-face or
Any
phone,
communications?
or-
How about that?
Well, I attempted to reach him by email and he would refuse to respond.
This is while you're employed there.
Yes,
Okay.
and so I
Can
I
you
had-
describe those attempts?
sent him emails.
What period of time?
It was over a few days and I never got a response. Finally, I had to talk to the sheriff and say, he's not responding to me.
When did these, when did you try to attempt to communicate when this happened?
It was in November.
Okay. About how many times did you try to communicate with Mr. Grady?
2 or 3.
What was the subject of the communication?
It was regarding the budget.
Okay. And I mean, were you asking for more budget or what was the?
No, our budget was wrong.
Oh, okay, right. Well, can you just say more about what was wrong and what the communication was?
Well, we had last year was in 2022, they gave us that was my first time getting a budget pack. They gave me a budget packet to fill out and turn in.
Okay.
For 2023's budget, we got an email, which I never received. It was finally forwarded to me. And all it was a couple of pages that looked like they belonged for the highway department.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, I don't know what this is. And it said, fill it out the best you can and turn it in.
Okay.
So I did. And then I got an email back saying, oh, your wages need to be in Excel, or it needs to be in Excel. Well, I took that to mean the wages because they sent us that on an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
So I did. I changed that all and returned it to them. And I kept asking for our budget, what was approved, and he wouldn't respond.
Okay, so while you're acting as jail administrator, you're acting for the jail budget. You're asking for the jail budget.
Yes,
Okay. And the county administrator refused to give it to you.
yes.
Okay.
He said, well, I asked the county clerk's office. They said that I had to talk to Dan Grady. When I finally went, after Mick talked to him, I was finally able to reach Dan Grady. And then he said, you need to talk to his secretary.
Okay. And so do you know when Mick Brennan talked to Dan Grady about this subject?
I don't know.
Like by the month or anything
It was, yeah, it was within the month.
of your termination?
Oh, no. It was in December, actually,
Of
because,
2022.
yes,
Okay. So this is while Mr. Lindsay, Mr. Grady, and Mr. Zupke were all conspiring against the acting sheriff at that time, right?
yes.
Okay. I got it.
Because I kept asking, why aren't we getting this put on the budget to get fixed?
Was there a problem with the budget at that time?
When I finally found out, yes, there was.
What was the problem?
They used last year's budget numbers, and that was what was approved for the budget. And there was nothing in our capital outlay account. And it was the same for the sheriff's department budget. That's millions of dollars.
Okay, so you uncovered fraud, waste, or abuse by Mr. Grady and tried to report that to him, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then he didn't respond to you in any way, right?
Well, no.
Okay, and again, just so we're clear about how long was this before you were terminated by Mr. Grady?
Well, like a month later.
Okay, and I guess when I just said you were terminated by Mr. Grady, do you have a clear concept of when you were actually terminated?
No, I don't. I got a letter from Max Lindsay on the 19th of January saying I was demoted.
Okay,
Then I kept attempting to get a hold of him, finally spoke with him on January 30th. He said that I was terminated, but he handed me a letter that was dated January 27th saying that I was terminated. So I was under the impression I was terminated on the 30th.
okay,
So then I tried to file for unemployment. Unemployment was told that I was fired on the 19th, and I filed in an untimely manner. So I couldn't even get unemployment for 3 to 4 weeks.
okay. So when we look at the January 19th letter, it doesn't say that you were actually terminated as jail administrator, it just says you're removed, right?
Right.
Okay. And The issue, though, is also that it says you may continue your employment with Ashland County in the position of correctional officer.
Correct.
Okay, so at that time, it was not clear to you whether or not you were continuing with your employment or not?
Correct.
Okay,
I said to Brian in his office, I would let him know. And later that night, I emailed him and asked him to talk to him about my continued employment status.
okay. And you, based on Mr. Zupke's testimony, you understood that he said that he made the decision to terminate you the next morning, right?
Correct.
Okay. But we also heard that Mr. Grady had made the decision to terminate you sometime before January 19th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And now, did you read the statement in the county wrote in response to your grievance?
Yeah.
Okay. And did that explain the reason for your termination?
Well, it said a lot of things. It said that I failed to fix a bunch of rule violations that I had never been given any rule violations.
So
Okay.
hold on. You're referring to exhibit. Find it. There it is. Let's see what exhibit that is. Six.
Great. So I'm going to read this statement here. It says, when confronted with questions as to the jail's investigation into these inmate allegations, Lavasseur did not take any responsibility for any lack of compliance with jail policies. Instead, Lavasseur deferred responsibility for compliance with jail rules to the individual correctional officers and did not recognize her role as being ultimately responsible for the actions of the jail staff working under her administration. Did you see that?
I did. And if
Okay.
I could
Please.
respond, so I was waiting to get the the report back from Detective Pierce, or Detective Sergeant Pierce, which I had asked him on numerous occasions, how's this report going? How's this investigation coming along? And he wouldn't even inform me of how the investigation was going. I did not know that it had been sent to the DA's office. No one, that was all kept hush hush.
Okay, and he never gave you a copy of the document, right?
Never.
Okay, so,
And I was going, if there had been anything in his findings that there was negligence on jail staff, then I would have given them violations.
so let's look at this sentence right here. It says, after investigating this matter, the sheriff office identified several incidents where the jail staff failed to follow appropriate jail policies. Okay?
Okay.
Now, when we heard Mr. Pierce testify that you were the one who identified the jail policies, right?
That is incorrect.
Okay. Why?
Because the time that I talked to him about this, there was one time he came over to my office and asked, he said that he's gonna have Amy O'Donoghue, who's the domestic violence liaison, talk with the victim.
Okay.
And he didn't ask me about anything.
Okay, so then, just to move on from there, it says, when confronted with the questions as to the jail's investigation into the inmate allegations, okay? When, if at all, were you confronted with questions as to the jail's investigation into these inmate allegations?
I wasn't.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I wasn't.
okay. And you discussed these inmate allegations with Mr. Zupke, though,
Oh, when he, yeah, after he demoted me,
after he
but
demoted.
I was literally in shock from what was happening. So I had no idea what was going on.
Okay, so then we look at there, it says this lack of acceptance of accountability and deferral of blame to other jail staff is unacceptable for a jail administrator and was the ultimate reason for the decision to remove Lavasseur from the position of jail administrator. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's not accurate, right?
No,
No, okay. And it's not accurate because we've had testimony that the decision to remove you from the position of jail administrator, and we have this document that says that that all happened before you met with Mr. Zupke, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't meet with Mr. Zupke at any other time regarding these issues?
no.
No, okay. Okay, and now it says, in recognizing that Lavasseur's shortcomings as jail administrator were mainly caused by a lack of adequate and effective management skills. Do you see that part?
Yes,
Okay, Sheriff Zupke recommended allowing Lavasseur to return to the position of CO. Okay, now, when it says return to the position of CO, as my understanding, let's be clear, what was your understanding of what your status was on January 19th?
that he was taking away my title.
Okay, and
That's what I thought. He was taking away my title. I would stay on as a correctional officer.
he gave you the choice to resign, right?
He did, although I did not even hear that in the meeting until this audio that they sent.
Okay, so he gave you the choice to resign or to continue on as correctional officer. Is that how you understood it?
Yes.
Okay. And then it says corporation counsel, that's Max Lindsay, right?
Yes.
Provided Lavasseur with notice that she was being terminated as jail administrator and explained to her that the county intended to rehire her in her previous position as correctional officer. Do you see that part?
I do.
Okay. Based on your recollection, is that statement true?
All Max Lindsay did was read me the letter from January 19th.
Okay.
I did stop him halfway through the letter and I asked, why? What did I do?
Okay.
And he said, I don't know, there's nothing written here.
Okay. And we heard Max Lindsay testify, right?
Yes.
Okay, and at any time, did he say that he, that explained to you that the county intended to rehire you in your previous position as correctional officer?
No, we didn't have a conversation like that.
Right, and he said that under oath, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this state, based on his statement under oath, we can determine that this statement is false?
Correct.
Okay. And then it says Lavasseur was advised to meet with Sheriff Zupke, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but in fact, Sheriff Zupke called you to his office, right?
Correct. It was approximately 2 to 3 minutes after I met with Attorney Lindsay.
Okay. And then, again, at that meeting, he invited you to resign, but otherwise he didn't say you were terminated as correctional officer, right?
No,
Okay. Now, it says instead, Lavasseur again did not accept any responsibility. Okay, so based on that statement's false because it says in this meeting with Sheriff Zupke, Lavasseur again did not accept any responsibility. You never met with Sheriff Zupke before. Is that
no,
true?
I did not.
Okay, you never met with any county official to discuss any accusations against you.
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you say that Sheriff Zupke was not being truthful in his recount of these incidents?
Say that
I
again.
did. I'm sorry?
The next line says Lavasseur stated that Sheriff Zupke was not being truthful in his recount of those incidents. That's true, right?
I said he was forgetful.
Okay.
I don't recall ever telling him he was lying.
Ah, okay. And then it says Lavasseur left the meeting with Sheriff Zupke without providing any response as to intentions on continued employment with the county. Did I read that right?
You read it right.
Okay, is that true?
No, it's not.
Why not?
Because I told him I would think about it, I would let him know. And his last words to me, I believe, were, so you'll let me know.
Okay, and there's a recording of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and after that same day, you emailed Mr. Zupke, right?
Yes,
Okay, and that's not mentioned in the statement here, is it?
no,
And so, okay. After this meeting, it was concluded that the trust between Lavasseur and the sheriff's office could not be regained. Did I read that part right?
yeah,
Okay, did Mr. Zupke testify to that?
Yeah.
Okay, he testified that he concluded that, right?
yes,
Okay. Now, we also heard Mr. Grady, isn't that true?
yes.
Did Mr. Grady say that Mr. Zupke made this decision or something else?
Mr. Grady said he made the decision to terminate me.
Okay. So, as a result, Lavasseur's employment with the county was terminated since she had not accepted continued employment as a correctional officer. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you received a second termination letter, right?
The letter that was dated the 27th of January.
Sure, and maybe
Okay.
it'll help if I say second so-called termination letter on the 27th of,
Well, I received it on the 30th when Mr. Lindsay handed it to me, but it was dated the 27th.
okay. And that's also, again, when Mr. Lindsay told you that he didn't know why you were being terminated, right?
Right, yeah,
But that wasn't true, right?
right.
Okay.
Well, I now found out yesterday.
I'll object to that question to the extent it mischaracterizes any prior testimony.
Go for it.
Continue,
What was the ruling on that?
just continue.
Yeah. Now, as a member of the sheriff's department, you were prior to your employment, you were being represented by Mr. Lindsay, right?
For the sheriff's office?
Right.
Yeah,
He was acting as corporation counsel for the sheriff's office.
yeah,
And you were a member of the sheriff's office, right?
yes,
Okay. And so when he told you on January 19th that he didn't know what the letter was about, not only were you a member of the public, but you were also a constituent member of the sheriff's department, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, we also heard testimony from Mr. Grady and Mr. Zupke about sheets being hung up on doors, right?
yes,
And they use the word sheets, right?
right.
Both of them use the same word,
Yeah.
sheets.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, how many times in this report did we see the word sheets?
I believe once.
Once. Okay. And the report talks about blankets. It talks about uniforms and other things being hung up, right?
Yeah.
But it only mentions the word sheets once.
Right.
Okay. And you heard Mr. Grady say that he saw the video, right?
Yeah.
And you also heard Mr. Zupke say that you saw the video, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe he said in the video I saw, but I don't know if that makes a difference.
That's fair. Okay. Now, I just want to, I think this is another big issue that needs to be cleared up because there keeps being these questions that say that whether or not it was possible to be aware of all of the potential rule violations in the jail at any given time.
Correct.
Okay, was that possible based on the staffing at that time?
Very possible, and it's still possible even with 3 people working.
Can you say that again?
It's still possible even with 3 people working at all times.
And just because I may have put that in the double negative, it's still possible to miss inmate violations.
Right,
Okay, even with the 3 as well.
yes,
I got it. Okay. And so part of the reason that So then I guess that's keeping that in mind, then when you get a complaint, then you investigate based on the complaint.
Right,
Okay. But you also do regular rounds.
yes,
Okay. You also have somebody watching the camera.
yes,
Okay. You have policies and procedures in place to take care of those issues.
yes.
Okay. And I just, for comparison's sake, while you were the jail administrator, how many people died?
None.
Okay. And
Matter of fact, I saved many, many, many lives.
okay. And just a week after you no longer being the jail administrator, how many people died?
6 days after I was demoted and ultimately fired, one person died.
Okay. And again, the jail administrator is still in place currently. Mr. Kadat is still the jail administrator as far as you know?
Yes.
Okay. Did you
And
ever,
I've also spoken with some of the staff members who were working that night.
Can't hear you again. Sorry.
And I've also spoken with some of the staff members who were working, and they did not receive any disciplines or,
and did you ever receive any commendations for saving anybody's life?
I have.
All right.
I have, I believe, 4 commendations and 1 letter of appreciation.
Okay. And I just, when you're saying saving somebody's life, I think Mr. Sergeant Wilbur was graphic enough about it, but these are people who are like in the process of actively hanging or otherwise killing themselves, right?
Yes,
Okay, and so then you're actively preventing them from doing that.
yes,
Okay. And then are you giving them services and support so that to sort of address whatever issue may have caused that problem in the first place?
yes. I was giving CPR to one inmate because he was unresponsive, and matter of fact, the ambulance got there and he remained unresponsive until he got to the hospital, but he was revived, and that inmate was the reason why I do my best to make sure stuff is not hanging in the cells, because there were towels hanging on his bunk. And when I was doing an evening round, I was checking the cell and I walked by and something didn't look right. And I walked back and I looked, I'm like, So Sergeant Wilbur was working with me at the time. I said, we need to go in. So we went in the cell and he had tied his sheets around his neck and leaned forward. And we got him cut off of that. And we kept him going until the hospital could get him back.
Okay.
But there were numerous occasions.
And so again, this is an incident, somebody's in a dead zone, but for your vigilance and rounds, that this person would be dead.
Yes,
Okay. Which is, they're accusing you here of being of a lack of diligence and lack of supervision, right?
right.
Okay. And in fact, not until after you left, somebody died.
Right,
Right. And again, that's under Mr. Kadat's supervision.
correct.
That's the younger male Native American employee, right?
Right, who has no jail experience.
Okay, I appreciate that. So he was not a correctional officer before that?
Never.
Okay, and do you know about how long he worked for the county at that time?
He's worked for the county less than 2 years.
Okay. And how long had you worked for the county up until you were terminated?
21.8 years.
Okay,
And I can give you that number specifically because of the wage study.
because of the wage study. Okay. And you're also a few months short of retirement benefits, is that true?
Well, like a year and a half.
Okay. And you believe the county knows that, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. I know they know it.
Mr. Grady knows that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we can retire at 55. I wasn't planning on retiring at 55. However, you can retire at 55.
I got it. Okay.
But if you wanted to ask about that wage study, I know that Sheriff Zubke received a copy of the wage study, and it was said to make any updates that needed to be made. And he did update Kyle Kadot's name as jail administrator. However, he did not update the years of service or length of employment.
Okay. I got it.
So in fact, he is going to be getting the raise that I should have been given for 21.8 years of service.
So he's in fact
Plus-
getting your longevity bonus.
It's not longevity. Well, I don't get longevity, but he's
Right.
also getting that. Plus, he's also getting to keep his protective status and stay in the union, which is unheard of for an administrator.
So that's a better deal than what you got, right?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. And again, Mr. Kadak is to go to the meetings, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
he does.
Do you know if Sheriff Grady ever called him a dog?
I don't.
Okay. How about a tyrant?
I don't.
How much longer do you have?
Fair enough. That's just what I was gonna ask my client. Just 1 second, please.
Yep.
Thank you for that. No, it's the hardest 5 words in English language. I have no more questions.
Okay, so let's take a quick 5 minutes. And then we can start in with Mr. Lindsay, and then I'm gonna have a couple questions as well after him.
Just you're the first person to ever laugh at that joke, just so you know.
I'm sorry?
You're the first person to not laugh at that joke.
Well,
It's bound to happen.
yes,
Bound to happen.
it's
It's 5 minutes or what?
getting amazing. All right, let's take a quick 5.